Welcome back to Bears News Fan Report. Straight from Halas Hall to your screen. Here's the clean update I've been chasing all day. The board just moved enough for a real football conversation about adding true edge speed without touching. The spine of this roster, and I'm going to walk you through the why, the mechanics, the price discipline, and the on-field blueprint before I land the name. Quick brief so you know what you'll get without me spoiling the payoff. First, the context, where the pass rush stands and why our coverage can be even better if the rush wins a half-second earlier. Second, the fit, how a long, explosive right-side rusher next to Montez Sweat changes our third and medium math and lets the interior eat. Third, the market, what the deadline window looks like and how fifth-year options shape leverage. Fourth, the deal types that respect our cap and draft plan. And finally, the verdict I'll stand on when the phones start buzzing. I start on the grass because tape doesn't lie. When our front wins with 4, the back end plays like a different unit. Disguise holds longer, zone matches get stickier, and those tip ball chances for Jalen and the safeties multiply. The problem in losses is simple and fixable. The quarterback reaches his third hitch, slides to his right, and turns a dead play into an off-schedule throw because the backside loses contain or the pocket never collapses at the ankles. Sweat is the tone setter, but the job opposite him has been committee work. And late in games, it shows up on third down when offenses know where the heat is coming from. The solution isn't reinventing the scheme, it's adding a bookend who can threaten. The outside hip, counter inside with real lower body quickness, and finish with length so the ball comes out on time or comes out wobbly. That brings me to the profile on my board tonight. A 6'5" edge with power to set the edge and enough burst to win high side, a player who logged his best numbers in 2023 before an Achilles setback in 2024, returned to the field this year with a short ankle pause, and sits on a team that isn't desperate to move him, but is listening because the fifth-year option for 2026 is already defined, and the depth chart behind him is younger and cheaper. You know the name, but let me build the case, right? So when I say it, it lands. Scheme first. Our front asks the edges to do 2 things on most money downs: own, contain, and squeeze, then arrive with violence. Where we've been good is squeezing. Where we can be great is arrival, because every half-second we steal up front turns Tremaine and T. J into faster triggers and makes our simulated pressures scarier without sending 5. Think about our best defensive stretches this year: coverage leveraged routes into throwaways, then one splash rush flipped field position. Imagine that sequence happening twice a quarter because the backside is no longer safe. With a true bookend, we can live in even fronts on third down, spin the safeties late, and still get home with twist games that force guards to pass off under duress. Gervon Dexter's bull rush matters more when the quarterback can't climb and the escape lane is a trap. Now the market, cleanly. The deadline sits right there on Tuesday. Teams in our conference have already called on pass rushers, and the Jets' posture on Jermaine Johnson is firm but not closed. They're not giving away a good edge, but the fifth-year option number for 2026 is reasonable. He's in year 4 now, and there is interest. The sense around the league is that if New York were to move anyone from that room, Johnson is the name that gets discussed more than Will McDonald. Because of contract staging, not because the player can't play. That creates a lane for a disciplined buyer with picks and a role that makes sense on day 1. Let's talk the player because the tape sets the price. Pre-injury 2023 was his best. 7.5 sacks and 16 pressures in a rotational role built on first-step quickness and a long arm that collapses pads. 2024 was the Achilles scar we all know about. He missed a big chunk, and the early part of this season included a 3-game ankle pause. The good news on 2025 snaps is the lower body looks alive again when he's right. First 3 steps carry him to the spot, and the counter inside is sharp enough to punish oversets. Usage tree that fits us, wide 9 on passing downs, 5 tech shade on early downs with the length to lock out and spill to help. Motor through contact is there on good days, and when he wins half a man, he finishes. because his arms are mailboxes. Medical is the adult in the room, so here's the plan I'd sign. Conditional draft capital tied to availability and playoff snaps. Ramp up workload with a NASCAR package early. Sweat plus Johnson plus Dexter plus Walker to keep pitch count sane while we chase high-leverage downs and a clear role definition so nobody in our room feels like a chair just got pulled out from under them. If we buy responsibly. Cap mechanics next, because decisions live there. The fifth-year option for 2026 sits in that $13 million and change range, which is team-friendly for an ascending edge if the health curve stabilizes, and it lets us carry him next to Sweat. Without strangling flexibility. You don't need to restructure anything heroic to fit him now, and you don't sacrifice July options to keep him then. That's exactly the kind of contract runway you want when you're paying premium money. At quarterback and wide receiver soon. Predictable, not punitive. So what's the cost that keeps me in the room? I'm not paying a pure second-rounder with no guardrails for a player coming off an Achilles year. My board says a 2026 third that escalates to a second on snap and playoff thresholds, plus a late 2027 5 gets you to the front of the line without lighting a match. If New York insists on a firm day 2, then I want a day 3 pick coming back or escalators that fall away if availability dips. Names going the other direction should be minimal. This is a picks deal, not a rob Peter to pay Paul trade that weakens the offense or special teams. We're buying a closer, not creating a hole. Let me show you the on-field version because this is where I get excited. 3rd and 7 at Soldier, ball on our 44. We show 2 high shell and mug TJ in the B gap. At the snap, Sweat wins the long arm on the left. Johnson jet chips high side on the right. Dexter loops into the A as T. J drops under the crosser. The quarterback looks to climb, but there's no elevator. Johnson has flattened the arc, so he tries to bail to his right and runs into Sweat's inside hand. Ball comes out, and now you've got the tip drill U. Practice on Wednesday turning into a short field for Caleb. Same drive, 2 minutes later, 2nd and 10. We stay 4-man but walk the nickel. Johnson sits 5 tech, wrong arms a kick out, and turns the run back to help for a 2-yard gain. That makes 3rd down long again. That's how a bookend rusher adds value even without a sack. He keeps us on schedule, he steals a drive, and he saves our secondary from living on an island. Risk ledger, because this channel stays grown up. Achilles histories don't vanish, so we price it in with protections, and we plan early snap counts around high-leverage downs. We also accept that streaky rushers exist. Some games he'll draw a chip and disappear on the stat sheet, and that's fine if the structure of the rush squeezes the pocket and forces checkdowns. We guard against the hot and cold by marrying him to stunts and games, not just go win, and we keep the room. Honest. Sweat is our bell cow, Johnson would be our knife, and Walker plus the young guys still eat in the rotation so December legs are fresh. Now, the name you've been waiting for, planted exactly where it belongs after the setup, Jermaine Johnson in navy and orange is a real workable path if the Jets open the door. It's not a splash for the sake of a headline. It's a targeted move that aligns with where the Bears are today. A relentless front that needs one more finisher to turn good defensive stretches into 4-quarter misery for quarterbacks. It respects the cap, it respects the draft, and it respects the locker room because the role is clear. Race to 9 yards, close at 6, force the ball out. My verdict after the calls, the cap work, and the tape. I'd push a conditional 2026 third that can climb to a second on 65% snaps and divisional round advancement, add a light day 3 sweetener if needed, and draw a hard line at an all-in. Second, with no kickback. Fit is day 1 opposite Sweat. Usage scales up as health and chemistry prove out. And the payoff is January football, where our 4 can hunt while the coverage disguises late. If the price spikes into unprotected day 2, plus a player, I pass and keep the powder dry for the off-season edge market. Before I close, I want your voice in this because this channel runs on informed Bears fans. What's your red line on picks? Conditional third that escalates? Or would you go straight second if we get a 5th back? Which package do you prefer? On 3rd down, Sweat Johnson Dexter Walker or Sweat Johnson plus a dime safety blitz? And how would you handle the snap ramp through November 2025 with NASCAR emphasis or straight 35 with early down anchor work? Drop it below, I'll be in. The comments tonight. Clean take to land the plane. If the door cracks, Jermaine Johnson to Chicago is the kind of disciplined, playoff-minded move that turns pressures into punts and punts into points. If it doesn't, the standard doesn't change. Keep the cap clean, keep the tape honest, keep the window open, and make every quarterback earn every third hitch at Soldier Field.